How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
Greetings, conversationalists. It is Eric Erickson here across America. The phone number is 877-973-7425 if you want to be on the program. If you would consider it, please. We are not quite, we're about 1,795 donors. I would love to hit the 2,000 donor mark. I'll be on Leland Vittert Show on News Nation tonight at 9 talking about this fundraising effort we're doing around the country with Hungry for a Day. I would love to get you involved if you will text the word donate to 33777 and consider donating. And I know times are hard for people, but every penny helps. $40 will buy a Thanksgiving meal for a family of 4, so $80 for 2 families. You can do the math from there. Text the word donate to 33777. Tom Wolfe was one of the great writers of the 20th century, into the 21st century. He wrote an essay in 1989 in Harper's Magazine called Stalking the Billion-Footed Beast. He also wrote a very great piece in New York Magazine called Radical Chic. He was a conservative at heart. New Yorkers loved him. I want to read you this excerpt from his essay, Stalking the Billion-Footed Beast. Such was the backdrop one day in January of 1970 when I decided to attend a party that Leonard Bernstein and his wife Felicia were giving for the Black Panthers in their apartment at Park Avenue and 79th Street. I figured that here might be some material for a chapter in my nonfiction Vanity Fair about New York. I didn't know the half of it. It was at this party that a Black Panther field marshal rose up beside the north piano. There was also a south piano in Leonard Bernstein's living room and outlined the Panthers' 10-point program to a room full of socialites and celebrities who, giddy with nostalgia de la boue, entertained a vision of the future in which, after the revolution, there would be no longer any such thing as a 2-story, 13-room apartment on Park Avenue with twin grand pianos in the living room for one family. Let me read that section again. You should understand nostalgia de la boue is the French for the nostalgia for mud. In other words, a desire for depravity and degradation for low culture. It was at this party that a Black Panther field marshal rose up beside the north piano. There was also a south piano in Leonard Bernstein's living room and outlined the Panthers' 10-point plan to a room full of socialites and celebrities who, giddy with nostalgia de la boue, entertained a vision of the future in which, after the revolution, there would no longer be such a thing as a 2-story, 13-room apartment on Park Avenue with twin grand pianos in the living room for one family. In other words, the socialites and celebrities were there to entertain the Black Panthers in Leonard Bernstein, the famous conductor's home, where the Black Panther informed them that after the Black Panthers rose to power and installed communism in New York City, there would be no mansions and there would be no wealthy people and there would be no rooms where you could have 2 grand pianos, let alone 1 grand piano. There would be no wealthy people. And all the wealthy people cheered it on, thinking that they themselves would be exempted from it. If you want a real-world vision of this, in the late 1970s, the leftist elite of Iran sided with the Ayatollah against the Shah of Iran. The Shah of Iran was allied with the United States. The Soviets did not like Iran being allied with the United States, but the Shah of Iran actually had run down his economy and was not a great leader and was more and more oppressive. The United States had actually been working to try to rein in the excesses of the regime, understanding that it was destabilizing Iran, and the socialists had taken advantage of it. And so the socialists in Iran, the progressives in Iran, led by a lot of college students no less, allied with the Ayatollah and helped the Ayatollah come back to power. Within a year, most of the socialist progressives in Iran had been rounded up and executed by the Shah, or not by the Shah, by the Ayatollah. So the progressive elite in Iran allied with the Ayatollah to get him in power, and once he was in power, he not only killed all the Shah's supporters, he wiped out the socialist progressives. The socialists, the celebrities, they always believe that they will be exempted, and sometimes they are. They're useful idiots in some cases for propaganda. That they always believe that they will be exempted. Mamdani in New York doesn't intend to exempt them. They will get his policies good and hard. Now, I say all of this because there are warning signs about the American economy, and there is a strain on the right now that isn't really conservative. They like to call themselves conservative, and they're socially conservative, but they're socially conservative socialists. And they want Mamdani's solutions in New York for the rest of the country. And I get a lot of people mad at me on the right for highlighting the problems in the economy right now. I want to read you two separate stories. One is from Southern Business and Development. Let me read you this. Southern Business and Development is reporting that economic development project activity in the American South, the world's third largest economy, is at the lowest mid-year point of any year since the Southern Business and Development 100 ranking was established in 1994. Deal activity in the region so far in 2025 is slower than any period during the COVID years of 2020 and 2021, as well as all years during the Great Recession of 2007 to 2010. Based on raw but triple-checked data, this is the worst six-month period in the South's modern economic development history regarding job and investment-generating deals announced publicly by a corporation. By rule, if the deal is not publicly announced by a member of the company making the investment, it is not a deal. It's a dog. These numbers are also worse than any recession since 1983. So in short, the worst we've ever seen, even if technically the United States is not in a recession. Business development deals in the South are at a low going back to 1983. Now, this is another story. This story is from Business Insider. Home Depot became the first major retailer to warn that the slowdown in consumer spending is spreading. The home improvement chain cut its first full-year outlook on Tuesday, reporting weakening sales growth for the third quarter. Comparable sales, a key measure that strips out new store openings, rose by just 0.2%, with U.S. comps up by 0.1%, falling short of Wall Street's expectations and underscoring a subtle yet important shift. More financially stable shoppers are starting to pull back. An expected increase in demand in the third quarter did not materialize. We believe that consumer uncertainty and continued pressure in housing are disproportionately impacting home improvement demand, said Ted Decker, chair of the president and CEO of Home Depot. Evidence is mounting that it's not just lower-income shoppers who are becoming more cautious with their spending. Home Depot's customer base tends to be relatively well off, and the chain benefits when people buy or renovate homes, but higher borrowing costs and a sluggish housing market are slowing that activity. The company had better expected results as interest rates ease, but even that tailwind wasn't enough. Brian Nagel, senior equity research analyst at Oppenheimer, told CNBC on Tuesday the company is facing a convergence of negative factors as both housing activity and discretionary spending weaken. How is this tied to Mamdani? Pretty straightforward. if those who support free markets and restrained government involvement don't stand up now and say we've got to do it a different way, the socialists are going to make a persuasive case that, you know what, we need more government involvement. And a lot of people are looking for a sugar daddy, and that sugar daddy is going to be Uncle Sam. They're not going to take care of themselves. They're going to have the government take care of them. And Republicans have got to be prepared to offer a solution to the attractive allure of the idea that the socialists have solutions. I mean, look at the Republicans who advocate for tariffs. So that San Francisco Federal Reserve report came out and said that tariffs do reduce inflation, and they reduce inflation by slowing the economy and driving up unemployment. And guess what's exactly happening? The economy is slowing and unemployment is going up exactly as the report suggested it would because of the tariffs. So if you want to bring unemployment down and speed up the economy, that suggests getting rid of the tariffs. But the president himself is so dogmatically attached to them, he's unwilling to change his mind. And when you see Republicans who are supposedly the free market party embracing something like this, the Democrats' alternative is socialism. And the Democrats can lie to the uninformed voter, the undereducated and the underinformed, and say, ladies and gentlemen, here's our solution. It is to have government involvement. Look at what Donald Trump has done. He's tried to deregulate, because that's what Donald Trump says. He's tried to get out of the way. We actually need the government to get involved. Well, we're actually getting the government involved with tariffs. Tariffs are a convoluted mess. I read a report the other day that CEOs are spending a massive, inordinate amount of time grappling with the implications because they don't know whether their goods are tariffed, what the tariff rate is, how to pay the tariff, where to pay the tariff, how it's all processed. The rules are very convoluted, and this is the mess we're in as an economy. Whether you like it or not, the Republicans are now getting blamed by voters. That's the lesson from the November off year election, is that voters are like, okay, it's yours now. Fix it. You're not fixing it. What's going on? We're getting impatient. Here's a lesson for Republicans, those of you who support tariffs. Americans don't want American-made products. Americans want cheaply made products. If you don't understand that, you're going to have problems. And the Republican rationale is we've got to rebuild American manufacturing. Americans don't care about American manufacturing. They give lip service to it, but they want cheap stuff. And if you don't give them cheap stuff, they're going to vote for a party that promises cheap stuff. And the Democrats are promising cheap stuff through socialism, which you know you're not going to get cheap stuff from. We don't need the Democrats to be in charge. Republicans' tariffs make things more expensive, slows down the economy. Mamdani is coming. I actually think long-term is going to be very good for the Republicans to have him as the face of the party. But short-term, there may be more pain. I would prefer to spare the American public the pain of having a socialist in the White House. We've already had Joe Biden. That was bad enough. He was surrounded by a bunch of progressives. But voters are blaming Republicans now for the economy. You got to understand, whether you think it's fair or not, that's the reality. So you got to be able to grapple with reality. How do we grapple with reality? Understand the perceptions, understand the realities, and find a path through them. What I'm noticing, though, is that there is a strain of thought on the right that is actually okay with what Mamdani is doing. They say they oppose him, but they don't really oppose his economic policies. Two Biden economic advisors this weekend in the New York Times said they want price controls. Price controls. Think about this. The people who wrecked the economy and drove up inflation are now saying, hey, you know what? We should have price controls. But you know what? Two of President Trump's economic advisors, they want price controls too. Two of his prominent economic advisors have said, you know what? The president could put some price floors on products and some price ceilings on other products. We need to get the government out of the economy. The government shouldn't even be picking winners and losers. And as long as both sides think the government can pick winners and losers, we're all losers as a result. Every single one of us, left, right, and center, we're losers when the government thinks it can impose on the private sector who the winners and losers should be. We've got to not just deregulate oil and gas. We got to deregulate by getting government out of the picture. And that means we need less government, not more government. We don't need socialism. And I'm just appalled at the number of Republicans who want to give lip service to being anti-socialist while also embracing socialist ideas like price controls that the Democrats want to do. Get rid of this thinking. Get rid of the tariffs. Reject the idea of price controls. Let the arm's length transactions happen and stimulate the economy with private sector growth, not government command and control. Guys, if you struggle to come up with gifts for family members, I got a suggestion for you, the Cove Pure. I love mine. I wasn't sure I would like it as much as I do, and I really, really, really do. What is a Cove Pure? Well, it's an water filtration system. It's on the countertop. You can get cold water. You can get hot water. It even has a bottle button, so you can get the warm bottle perfect for formula for your baby at night. It's really easy. It's so convenient. I use it all the time in my office. You will love it. It sits on the countertop. It uses reverse osmosis. It gets rid of like pharmaceuticals, fluoride, lead, arsenic. It's the purest water you can get. It tastes fantastic. If you're looking for a great gift for your loved ones or for yourself that they're actually going to use the Cove Pure. I partnered with them. They're giving you a $250 holiday discount with my link, covepure.com/Eric. That's COVEPURE.com/Eric, ERICK. You get $250 off, covepure.com/Eric. The sale is going to end, so take advantage of this $250 holiday discount, covepure.com/Eric. Hello there. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here, 877-973-7425. Tyler, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show.
Hello?
Tyler. Hi there.
Yes. Hey, it's always good to talk to you again. I was calling about, because I heard before you started your show earlier that Trump was talking about giving the Saudis some F-35s, and I don't like the sound of that. I was wondering your thoughts on it, like, because they're close to China, and unless if they can, like, promise to kind of cut off close ties like that in China, I don't think it's a good idea for them to have them.
So, they have scaled back their ties to China. They were only flirting with China because of Joe Biden. They've otherwise been one of our allies. But, I mean, let's be real here. We give F-35s to a lot of countries. We don't give anybody the F-22, which is the more technically advanced plane, despite the perception. And we don't even let the Brits get the F-22. The F-35, though, plenty of countries get it. I'm sure the Chinese know everything about it already. We've given the Saudis F-18s. We've given them F-16s. This is just the latest in a long list of. We're also giving the Qataris planes and training the Qataris. They're less reliable an ally than the Saudis. So cat's out of the bag at this point, and the cattle have left the gates. So I'm not sure how you undo what's already been done, even by the Biden administration. Might as well let them have the F-35. The only reason the Biden administration wouldn't let the Saudis have the F-35 is because the president of the United States at the time, Joe Biden, hated Mohammed bin Salman and blamed him for Jamal Khashoggi's death, which, by the way, he does deserve blame for his death, but no longer treated them as allies. So what did the Saudis do? They started flirting with the Chinese. And now this president is bringing them back onto the American side. The Saudis played it smart with Joe Biden, frankly. They really did. Now, let me tell you about Hillsdale College. What a great opportunity for you to get some great knowledge about subjects you care about. All you have to do is go to ericforhillsdale.com, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com. You sign up with Hillsdale College, and you find classes you're interested in, and you take them at no charge. They're each based on 30-minute videos with Hillsdale's faculty. Now, they're not just a 30-minute video. Depending on the class, there could be 10 episodes, 7 episodes. It depends. You go to ericforhillsdale.com, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com. You sign up with Hillsdale College today, and you pick a class. They've got classes on economics, on chemistry, on math, on literature, on political science, philosophy, history. Got some great ones on the early Roman Republic, by the way, and the decline and fall of the Roman Empire, C.S. Lewis, Shakespeare, on the theology and literature of Genesis, and on the founding of our republic. All you do is go to ericforhillsdale.com, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com. You sign up with Hillsdale College today, and you get smarter about a subject you're interested in at no charge to you, and you learn what makes Hillsdale College so unique. 877-973-7425 when we come back, and a little more on the water being used in these data centers. As I was saying, I sat down on my chair and I heard the startup music. He got distracted in the hallway by somebody talking to me. It's like, okay, has the voice gone or not? And I used to be able to tell on the clock, and now it's all a blur. So in any event, welcome back. It's Eric Erickson here, 877-973-7425. I want to get into the data center usage because I'm convinced we are headed off an economic cliff because of the data centers and AI. Before I get there, though, I want to take a couple of phone calls. First, I want to go to Dee in Dayton, Ohio. Welcome to the show, Dee. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for asking. Eric, I wanted to talk about Medicare supplements.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know this until recently, but Medicare supplements, the government pays $1,000 a month to manage the plan. And I think that's a big waste of money because I just do Medicare Original, and we pay $600 a month each, my husband and I. And why would I want the government to manage my plan? And why can't I get a rebate? So I kind of want your idea on Medicare supplements and what a waste of money it is.
It is absolutely a waste of money. And the government finds a way to insert itself into a process. And every time the government inserts itself into a process as a middleman, we get greater inefficiencies as opposed to allowing people to go out and shop for their own plans. And the argument is, the poor, dumb people of America won't be able to figure it out. It's like school choice, where progressives say, if we have school choice, parents might get taken advantage of. Really. It's always a fear scenario. I think the interference of the government in healthcare has driven up costs and deprived people of access. And the more we can get the government out of it, the better it's going to be for all of us. Lex, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. Enjoying your show as always.
Thank you.
My question would be, if we took the federal tax on diesel fuel and moved it over to gasoline because we're making a surplus of gasoline now, the cost of everything should come down because your transportation costs would come down.
Wait, hang on. Let me see if I'm following you. So we tax diesel, and so instead take it from diesel and apply the tax to gas?
Yeah, we tax both gas and diesel. There's a federal excise tax.
Uh-huh.
Take the federal excise tax off of diesel, put it on the gasoline so we don't create a deficit. But your grocery prices, your lumber prices, all your prices will go down because the cost of transportation will go down. Your wages will get you more money. Yes, you'll have to pay more on gasoline, but that's what we have a surplus of, supposedly.
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. There is a problem with doing that, though, and it is that you'll be driving up the cost on consumers. And consumers are voters, and the trucks that convey the cattle to the slaughterhouse don't vote. The people who drive them do, but then at home they have gas cars, and so their taxes would go up. And I think you would probably create a voter revolt if you did that. I do think we got to do something with diesel. And frankly, part of the issue here is all the battery-powered cars out there, and how do you – I mean, they're on the road too. They're heavier than a lot of other vehicles, and how do you – start charging them? States are grappling with that issue, as is the federal government. Now, I got to shift gears here because I saw this story, and this keeps coming up. This is a national story. A lot of you around the country are encountering the building of data centers in your communities. There is one that is going to be up the road from me about 25 miles, a Google data center. There's another one being built. Justin Gray at WSB-TV in Atlanta, Georgia, did a story on locals in a county in Georgia, Coweta County. They're concerned about the water usage by the data centers and all the non-disclosure agreements local governments are entering into. I want to play you some of that because this story keeps coming up. I've gotten calls from people in Ohio. I've gotten calls from people in Idaho and other places around the country where these data centers are showing up, and water usage is one of them. And I've actually I made a few phone calls. I've got some answers for you, but there's more to it than that. I want to just listen to some of this.
Well, George, you can see the water still in the pool at one of the larger outdoor pools in the metro area, Piedmont Park Pool. Let's go to News Drone 2. You know, I checked with management here at the park. They tell me 165,000 gallons is what it takes to fill this pool. Well, these hyperscale data centers we're talking about, they can use that much water in less than an hour.
If you look up the hill to the left.
Neighbors tried to show me on the ground, but you can see it better from News Chopper 2. The proposed Project Sale data center in Coweta County would be bigger than all the terminals at Hartsfield-Jackson combined.
It's going to put pressure on the county water supply. There's no doubt about it.
Water might not be the first thing you think of when you look at big, hyperscale data centers like this Google facility in Douglas County. But most data centers rely on lots of water to cool the systems.
Nothing uses water or energy the way the data centers do.
Chris Manganello from the Chattahoochee Riverkeeper has been trying to get hard numbers to answer a pretty basic question.
How will the operations of data centers, affect a community's water supply?
Take that Douglas County Google site. We filed open records requests for the agreement between Google and the county. All references to water use specifics to water requirements throughout the document are blacked out, redacted, secret. Same for a Microsoft data center. The numbers for water use, hidden. Our open records request even turned up an NDA, non-disclosure agreement with Microsoft, and this agreement even has a company name redacted.
In an absence of information, we're left with more questions than answers.
What we do have in Georgia that most states don't are proposed water usage numbers provided as part of development plans. And the largest data centers are proposing using 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, even 6 million gallons of water a day.
This water tower in Noonan holds about 1 million gallons of water. Project Sale estimates it will use 6 of these, 6 million gallons every single day.
Now, it goes on from there, but there's a lot of skepticism about these. Let's talk about golf courses for a minute. As I'm playing more and more golf badly, getting better but bad. I played at the Wynn golf course in Las Vegas 2 weekends ago. It's if you're familiar with the Las Vegas Strip, there's a golf course next to the Wynn and Encore Hotel. That was it. I got to play there. And like all golf courses, it's in the middle of a desert, and not just any desert, but the Las Vegas desert, where there is a massive demand for water. And golf courses in this country recycle upwards of 90 to 95% of their water. So when you go past a golf course and it's got the sprinklers running and the grass is green in the middle of a drought, it's actually not pulling a lot of water from a municipal water supply or even wells. It recycles the water. Golf courses these days are major irrigation projects. And they're not pulling from the municipal system except for evaporative reasons. They have a lot of water. They capture a lot of rain. They recycle the rain. There are some golf courses in the country that are 99% recycled water. The Wynn Golf Course in Las Vegas is like that. 99% of the water in the Wynn Golf Course does not come from the municipal supply. It comes from the water that has existed on the property when they filled it, the capture of the rare rainfalls in Las Vegas. They recycle it all. The data centers, or the data centers, however you want to say them, I say data, you say data. The data centers are the same way. They're not bringing in new water all the time. The 6 million gallons of water, it's a lot of water. Think of your standard water tower that you see out there. That's about 1 million gallons, so 6 of them uses them in a day. What most overwhelmingly the data centers do, though, is they're recycling the water. They're circulating it through the data center to cool things down. You got a lot of heat generated from the computer equipment. So you circulate the water, and the water's recycled. It's not flushed out of the system. It doesn't go to waste. It's not poured into the river. It's recycled, it's chilled, and it's circulated back through the system. So you put 6 million gallons of water in to the system. You're not putting 6 brand new million gallons in every day. It's just 6 million gallons. It circulates, it's recycled, it's used. For evaporative use, there are monitoring systems and agreements they put in for county governments to make sure they're not going. There's a real scare scenario out there that you're pulling 6 million gallons of water a day out of a municipal water system for one of these data centers, and that's not true. You've taken 6 million gallons out one time, and it's recycled for the life of the center. There are problems, however. Now, why is so much redacted? And that's what a lot of people want to know. If that's the truth, Erickson, why are they redacting the information and doing non-disclosure agreements? I happen to know the actual answer. You can do a math equation based on the amount of water being used each day in the data centers to cool them to figure out exactly how many computer components are in the data center. Every computer component with these new high-end NVIDIA chips generates X amount of heat times the number of computer chips. You got to have X amount of water to cool them and run through the system. A competitor could tell you exactly what's in the data center and how much they're using power-wise, energy-wise, and the computing components of the data center if they get an idea of the amount of circulated water used in the data center. It's a competitive bit of data. That's why they're redacting the data. It has nothing to do with your belief that they're stealing water from the municipal water system, and when the drought comes, everything's going to be run out of the data center because, in large part, the water loop is a closed loop once it gets into the data center. What you're all looking at is the wrong thing to look at. You're all looking at the water used. The water use is largely a one-time use. What you're not looking at is the property tax abatement on an overbuilt data center in a bubble that's going to come crashing down, leaving your county on the hook for all sorts of stuff. You have a massive municipal build-out. You have an alteration of your property tax base in your community. What happens when the bubble bursts and you have these massive data centers in your backyard? Your power company has now overbuilt its power grid to serve a data center that is paying for its power, and it goes out of business and no longer uses the power. The power grid and the power company haven't recouped their costs. Who's going to pay for the recouped costs? You are. They've built up a massive municipal water supply to bring in the excess 6 million gallons of water for the data center, a one-time use that requires a massive municipal build-out just for the infrastructure to get that 6 million gallons filled up. What happens when the community doesn't get the money back because it's not an upfront, it's a spread out cost over time? The data center goes out of business in the next 3-5 years. When the bubble bursts, who's holding the bag for the buildup? You are. We are building out massive infrastructure in this country for data centers, many of which are going to be out of business in the next 5 years when the bubble bursts. A leak of OpenAI's financials came out the other day, and it turns out it's been overinflating its profitability. It's not making the money it claims publicly to make, and it's actually costing a lot more. This is not a stable enterprise. We have data centers being built across the country from Virginia to Georgia to Texas to Idaho, these massive data centers where towns think they've hit the lottery because they're going to have a massive facility with very few people living in the town. They're going to get massive amounts of property tax. They're not when these things go under. They've built massive infrastructure for power and water to power these things and cool them down. What happens when that 6 million gallons flows out of the system, not into the system? What happens when it winds down? Where does the 6 million gallons of water go? Into the river? Down the stream? To waste? That's the problem. The problem is not the 6 million gallons going into the system unless there's a drought. The problem is when the 6 million gallons of water are no longer needed because the data center's gone out of business and you've got this massive pile of land that you've poured a bunch of infrastructure building into that's no longer there. We're in a bubble. We're in a real bubble. We're in a bubble that is taxing our infrastructure for water, for sewer, for power. We're in a bubble that is exacerbating property tax revenue to towns that's not going to be sustainable when the bubble bursts. We're in a massive bubble where these AI companies are consuming massive resources. It's the only sector of the economy that's really growing. And it's all going to come to an end at some point. These companies are overinflating themselves. They're engaged in circular trading, where one company gives another company $1 billion, and that company gives the $1 billion back in the form of a trade. It's not a sustainable economic model that we're seeing in OpenAI or any of these other companies. It is going to be Enron, WorldCom, and Global Crossing all rolled into one, a massive economic fallout. You guys are freaked out about the non-disclosure agreements that have more to do with protecting the trade secrets and the energy consumption. You're not worried about the energy consumption that the power companies are having to build up and are going to be left holding the bag when the companies go under, and you are going to foot the bill for that. It's not about the water today. It's about the water 5 years from now. It's not about the power grid today. It's about the power grid 5 years from now. No one sees where this thing is going, and it is because it's off a cliff, and you can't see that. So it's very interesting to see this, the way the media is covering this judicial decision down in Texas, where a Trump-appointed judge for a 3-judge panel has said Texas can't use the lines that it drew. Now, here's the thing. The way the California popular referendum went for its redistricting, it was premised on Texas's new lines. So if Texas can't use its new lines, there's now a question if California can use its new lines. Because, again, the California decision to ignore its nonpartisan panel for writing lines was premised on we're going to ignore it because of what Texas did. If Texas can't do what it did, there is a question about it being applicable in Texas. Very, very interesting to see where this goes and if the state of Texas will appeal. Of course it's going to appeal. By the way, those of you down in Florida, Clay Higgins is the only no vote on releasing the Epstein files. Clay Higgins voted against it. He is the singular person saying no. I'm sorry, I said Florida. It's Louisiana. Clay Higgins, that's right. He's Louisiana. He is the 3rd congressional district in Louisiana, once represented, of course, by Edwin Edwards. Those of you listening on KPEL down in Louisiana, in Lafayette, you should know it is your representative is the one opponent to releasing the Epstein records. That vote has now happened. It was 427 to 1. His statement, I have been a principled no on this bill from the beginning. What was wrong with the bill 3 months ago is wrong today. It abandons 250 years of criminal justice procedure in America. As written, the bill reveals and injures thousands of innocent people. If enacted in its current form, this type of broad reveal of criminal investigative files will absolutely hurt innocent people. He has voted no. The Speaker says he hopes the House will, or the Senate will fix the House bill. Regional banks in this country are in turmoil right now. There are a lot of questions about loans. There are bailouts underway in some cases and buyouts of regional banks. Swiss America has been sounding the alarm about a secret war on cash. With interest rates squeezing the economy and these regional bank problems, Swiss America wants to educate you on protecting your hard-earned assets right now. You can read their report, The Secret War on Cash, completely free by calling or texting 800-289-2646. The all-out war on cash includes digital forms of currency. Get the report, The Secret War on Cash, for free. Just mention my name, Eric, when you call or text 800-289-2646. That's ERICK. Text it to 800-289-2646 or go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric. That's SwissAmerica.com/ERICK. Message and data rates may apply.